Hi, my name is Alana. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And on this channel, we review books. I have not been doing that intro in my videos. I've been hopping right in. Well, no, I've been rambling and not introducing myself. That's okay. My name is in the title. I review books. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, I thought I was about to have to burp. Aliss at the Fire by Jon Fosse, which is I think I'm pronouncing his name right, his last name right. I know it's Jon Fosse, not John. He's a Norwegian author, a well-known of all time. No, okay. Well-known Norwegian author who has won the Nobel Prize in Literature. Did he win it for Septology or Melancholy? I want to say it was Septology. But Aliss by the Fire. This is a very slim volume. I mean, it's a novella, very short. Took me almost no time to read it all. But don't let that fool you. There's a lot in here, and I'm excited to talk about this because Aliss at the Fire, you stay there, don't you fall. Okay. Hadn't heard of it. And then Charisse, who a bookish friend of mine on Instagram, she read it, and by her description of it, when she posted about it, really intrigued me. And she was like, I think you'd like this. The atmosphere, it's atmospheric. It's right up your alley. And so I looked into it a little bit more, and I saw how short it was. I was like, why not give it a try? And if I really like it, it's introduced me to another author. And I'm going to get into that because I need more of this guy in my life, this author. Aliss at the Fire. Now, I am clearly not Norwegian. I have no Norwegian, and so I'm going to be doing my best to pronounce some of these Norwegian names. So if I have any Norwegian followers and I'm pronouncing any of these incorrectly, please feel free to correct me in the comments, but I'm trying my best. Okay. Nothing has changed, but still, everything's different, she thinks, because since he disappeared and stayed gone, nothing is the same way anymore. So Aliss at the Fire, I want to say by the fire, it's Aliss at the Fire, is again a very slim novella, but it does cover quite a bit of territory. Signa, I believe that's how you pronounce that, Signe, her husband Asle, Asle, goes out on his boat one cold, dark Norwegian November night. And this time of the year in that part of the world, it gets very dark very early. And actually, depending on how far up you are, you're almost getting no sunlight at all during certain times of the year. But also during the summer, you're getting way less night than everybody else. The sun's up way more. Of course, the farther up you go, you're getting towards polar nights. But there's this, what's her name? Cecile. She has a growing YouTube channel. She lives almost as far north as you can live. She up there. And so her whole YouTube channel really does focus on what it's like to live in such a harsh climate where you have polar nights and you have nonstop sun during the summer and it's just constantly dark. But it's like the coziest channel ever. She's got the cutest little dog. But she's Swedish, Swiss, something like that. Her boyfriend is Nordic, I want to say. Finnish. He might be Finnish. I don't know. I'm winging it. But again, so fascinating. Anyway, let me gear back to what this book is about. So he does take his boat out frequently, but one time on a late November night, he doesn't come back, and it's implied that he drowned. We do know this. So Signa spends the next 20 plus years still somehow waiting for her husband to come back, and she's reminiscing. So this novella, really, in a hallucinatory way, also flashes back to Asle's great-great-grandmother, Aliss, who also lost a child through drowning, whose name was Asle. So you can see this almost like this generational cycle going on. And So there's just something almost claustrophobic and hallucinatory about this narrative, but it's so atmospheric. Obviously, this is going to be a story where the main theme is grief. And Signa has been grieving for her dead husband for 20 plus years, to the point where it's immobilized her. And this immobilization, I find like Fosse is really emphasizing how people leave voids. And depending on who that person is to you or was to you, because you can grieve a person who's still alive and maybe you've been separated or you're no longer in communication or something happened. You can grieve a person and that person has left a void that is them shaped, and whether that be through death or through other occurrences, when somebody is gone, they're irreplaceable. If you had a good relationship with that person, especially, and even in a person's absence, they linger. And then suddenly, as when he had once come, walking up to her, he went away from her, and now it's been many years since she's seen him. No one has seen him, and he's just gone. He was there, and he disappeared, went away forever. Got some typos in here. This is a freshly drafted review. Why does she always have to see herself stand there and say something to him? Why does she always have to hear what he says? What she says? Why is it like that? Why is he still here? Because he's gone. He's been gone for years, and it's been years since he disappeared, but it's still as if he's still here. I'll get into the prose of this, not the way that he writes at the end, but you can tell already there's a lot of repetition going on, interesting punctuation, but we'll get to that at the end. So Signa spends the majority of the novella reminiscing, and she has regrets, as most people do when people leave our lives, again, through death or other means. And she's wondering if she could have done something differently. Could she have prevented her husband from going out that one night? Would that have made a difference? She has this inner turmoil that highlights how we often look at relationships in our lives and examine them from different angles, the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, to see, could I have prevented this, or was just this destined to happen? Also, as she's reminiscing and she's going over her memories and she's thinking and grieving over her husband after all this time, it also goes to show, side note, that when a person is really close to you, you never get over them. There are some people you never get over. They're always going to leave a mark. And so she's also wondering, though, after all these years and what has happened, why do we bond with people? Why do we bond to certain people and not others? And can we fully understand another person no matter how much we love or care for them? And in the instance that the person that we love is separated from us, whether that be through death or other means, we often blame ourselves, sometimes unnecessarily. Like, was it me? Did I do something? We're almost grieving. And with these, there's something about unanswered questions that also magnifies grief. And Signa is really battling with this because she's never going to get those answers. Her husband is gone forever. And maybe she should have gone with him more often. And if she had been with him on that evening, then maybe it never would have happened. Then maybe he would be here now. And she can't think like that. That won't get her anywhere. And she never fully understood him, not from the first time she met him, she thinks, and maybe that is why she felt so close to him from the first time they saw each other. And they looked at each other, smiled at each other, and it was though they were old friends, as they had always known each other. And I think though that's even that in particular, to lose somebody in your life, and when you first meet, you click. And then when you click with that person, it's instant chemistry, it's instant connection. And then when that person is gone. So lastly, Asla and Signa, they live in Asla's family home. And now that Signa is left alone in this house, she feels the presence of these dead family members around her, and not in a weird, creepy, paranormal type way. It's in the way in which spaces hold memories. And for Signa, it feels like the home doesn't fully belong to her because there is just the weight of memory left behind by her predecessors. The old walls, they are settle into place all around him and say something to him, the same way they always have, he thinks. It's always like that. Whether he notices it and thinks about it or not, the walls are there. And it is as if silent voices are speaking from them, as if a big tongue is there in the walls, and this tongue is saying something that can never be said with words. And he puts his hand flat on the wall, and it seems like the wall is telling him something. He thinks something that can't be said, but that is, just is, he thinks. And it's almost like he is touching a person, he thinks, almost like something is being said, the way something is said when you touch someone. And she sees Grandma go in the front door, and he goes in after her, and she thinks that no, she can't just stay standing out here in the cold, even if someone else has just gone into her house, home into the old house, because it is her house after all. It's she and he who live there, she thinks, and besides, it was definitely him who went inside just now, and the old woman, that was his grandma, she thinks. So then maybe she can still just go in. But can she really go home into the old house when someone else lives there? She thinks. But really, is it she who lives there? They who live there? She and me, Signa, and Asla. That quote is something. So yeah, this is my first Alice at the Fire, is my first Jon Fosse. And it's claustrophobic, like I said, it's atmospheric, it's cold, dark, Norwegian. It is a vibe. Okay, it is very Norwegian. There's even a scene with Aliss, his great-great-grandmother, with sheep heads, which is she's getting sheep heads ready for a traditional Norwegian dish that is typically enjoyed culturally during the Christmas season, winter season. It's just in the hand knit Norwegian sweaters and just the environment. It's harsh, it's cold, the wooden homes, just especially we're in this territory where this story is taking place. It is very Norwegian. I mean that in a good way. It is a vibe, okay? Perfect to read during winter time. But Fosse's style is very different. You can tell by the quotes, especially if you look at the quotes when they're on the screen. He very rarely uses the period in this book with this novella with his writing. When he does use a period to end a sentence completely, it sticks out a lot. And I haven't quite figured out what he means by that. It's going to take me a couple of reads to figure that out. But I made sure to highlight every single time it happened in the book. He also makes other interesting grammatical choices. So he may end with other types of punctuation, but the next word is not capitalized after that, as it typically would be. There are no quotation marks. But somehow in this story, with his style, it doesn't feel pretentious. It suits the tense, rambling inner monologues that are occurring in this novella. And once I got used to this style, I barely noticed it because it flowed. It flowed like stream of consciousness thought. And for me, it made sense. And again, the language is very repetitive. And I know that there are reviewers and readers who will not get on with that. But for me, it didn't bother me. I thought it just fit the narrative. And we are repetitive in our own inner dialogues. Now, I have read part of Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman. Didn't like it. I have a review on it. That is also very repetitive because you're in somebody's inner dialogue. This and that, completely different. This, well done. That, I hated it. That was pretentious in my opinion. But needless to say, I'm so glad I read this little novella. Got a little sliver of what Jon Fosse is like, and found, I think he could become a contemporary favorite for me. I don't say that very often these days when it comes to contemporary favorites. So it just suited me. This is the type of writing that suits me. So I gave this a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I still think about it, even though it was very slim. There was a lot to discuss here, despite it being, 70 pages long, if that. 60 something pages long. It's super thin. I plan to hopefully read more Jon Fosse in 2025. When is this going live? I'm recording this at the end of 2024. In 2025, this year, if it's already 2025, by the time this goes live, it'll be 2025. Nope, it'll be January 2025 when this goes live. I hope to actually read Morning and Evening, another very short work of his, but I think the style is a little different. But mainly, I want to consider tackling this year Septology. It's an 800-pager, the Fitzcarraldo edition. I love a good Fitz. But Kieran Reads on YouTube, Katie Books, Katie Reads, he was like, if you get on with Aliss at the Fire, you're going to really like Septology. So I just need more of this guy in my life, literature-wise. So Septology coming at you. I really think I'm going to read that in Morning and Evening. And then from there, I want to read Melancholy, volumes 1 and 2. Not nearly as long as Septology. Septology is a doorstopper. But Melancholy is about an artist who is dealing with some type of mania. And this guy really did live in, he was a real person, but this is fictionalized. And I love stories about madness. I do. Anyway, I enjoyed this. Have you read Aliss at the Fire? Have you read Septology? Have you read any of other Jon Fosse's work? Please let me know. Thoughts and comments below. Also, feel free to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram, where I get up to more book shenanigans. That is where I post all of my book content there first, once a week in the static feed. But I post in my stories frequently throughout the week because I like to post goofy things in the Instagram stories. All right. I'm going to sign out, and I will see you in the next one.